especially with Orb. The way that Himwy was just constantly keeping people out, Himwy's combo game, Himwy's follow-ups, I mean, they are, you know, world class. They're top of the line. So everybody, game number 1 of the grand finals. This is the final match, potentially one of final 2 sets for all of Southeast Asia for this tournament.
Yeah. All right, we got that hammer in hand, and man, I feel like it's been years since we've seen Himwy on the screen, but it's really only been like a couple hours. But either way, getting started right now. This hammer putting on some solid damage, but this orb is just really crucial for the way that Himwy wants to play. We've seen so many damage, so much damage, so many stocks taken today using just this orb alone. Himwy is definitely controlling the space very well with it.
Yeah, Himwy is undershooting a little bit, so some of these down airs are not actually connecting, but more than anything, these down airs are actually just going unpunished. Like, Keith is not able to whiff punish any of these, which is pretty huge. That is what Orb does. It plays this keep away game from you. Sidelight into side air, and now you're going off stage, and the question is, how do you close? Himwy just looking to land back down, finds another side air, just keeping Keith stuck in disadvantage for quite some time.
Here we go, having to find a way back on the stage. Both of them in a pretty deep red at the moment. Himwy does have a little bit of a lead, but now this hammer comes out to play, and it's just like the lead just completely shifted. It just takes one hit. They were so lucky that they were on the other side of the stage, because any closer to the right side, they would have been gone, but we do see them close it out, and Keith taking the first stock here.
But, I mean, that was crazy. That was just Keith dashing in and then just pressing like an unarmed neutral strong, right? That was crazy. But right now, Keith off stage looking for a way to get back on safely. Himwy was going for the jump lead and didn't find it. Wasn't able to connect that side in. Oh, this is dangerous. You have already seen the kind of damage output that Keith is capable of, and he is beginning to get that going. These Kataris are no joke.
Okay. There we go, trying to find a way in. Weasel's way in for a little bit of extra damage, but we do see Himwy find a way to close that stock out. And man, they are in the orange too. Like, that is just how well Keith is playing here and trying to take advantage of this lead as much as possible. Wow, that's a huge stock to get started on the second here.
We now has an entire stock to make up for. Keith is basically unpunished, undamaged, still really, really fresh. This is the kind of a lead that you want to open up grand finals with. Himwy is slowing it down, looking for that sidelight, but then you get put off even at like such a early damage. Getting put off stage by Kataris, it feels so bad. Keith can easily just drag you back down off of one dodge route.
Okay. Dashing around here. Both of them trying to find a solid combo to get started. Both of them in the yellow as well, and I mean, Himwy just continues to stay about a stock behind here. Damage and all. We're starting to find a little bit of something, but not able to stay on the ground.
What was that combo? What was that follow-up? Ew. That was pretty cool, but also kind of ill. Himwy now just making it back on with the good combo. He doesn't actually connect it. That's the hammer side coming out. That is just enough force to push you all the way back down. But Himwy still makes it back on as Keith ended up missing that downer that you needed to close out that game. But still left with no weapon. Keith is waiting. But wait, he missed that? He missed that follow-up?
I guess so. Keith, what are you doing? Keith, I need you to close this out here. This is a little bit terrifying. All right, there we go. Get started.
Oh, that's Scythe off stage and then dashes off with, oh my god, that's a slide off dancing. That is so funny. We saw Keith do that before at some point, just like a switch flipped in his brain, and then he decided to do that 3 times in a row. Guess what? Keith is just showing off something that is essential to fighting games, which is you don't want to necessarily reveal all of your options immediately right off the bat. Himwy was not playing in a way where he was even considering that was an option from Keith. Why? Keith didn't establish that he was going through that with a hammer in hand. You know, he'd be going off stage for a sider with Kataris, he'd be looking for downers. He did not do this game against Himwy. He wasn't expecting it, and then he got hit by it. And this is something that everybody should take home. Like, a lot of you powerful KO options, you don't want to show them off immediately, and you don't want to always throw them around.
Alright. There we go. both of them taking their time. And I feel like this is something we didn't see a lot of last game, was the scythe. I feel like that's something you should probably try to incorporate a little bit more here. It probably help with your combo game. It probably helps dealing with some of what Keith's throwing at you as well. Especially for stage positioning, that would be a huge boon for him.
And we just kind of keeping Keith out, but not finding any huge openings at the moment. He gets that neutral link, but it's not really anything else. It's just that one-off hit. Sidelight Sider going off stage. What's it going to be? Himwy just chooses to stay on the stage. Nothing too crazy, nothing too committal. Okay, Keith makes it back on.
All right, there we go. Just continues to keep this damage racking up. There we go. Beautiful opening. Tries to look for the dodge. And tries to get a read on it. Just barely misses out.
Being nice and patient, jumping out there, looking through the jump call out. Sidelight Sider. Yep, classic orb B&B. That's the confirm. That's the way that you actually get KOs with this weapon. And Himwy found it. So you have a lead. You have a very gentle lead. But Keith has established that at least last game he didn't close. Like that.
Very well done to try and even things up here a little bit. And honestly, you're barely behind. A couple solid Qatar combos, and you should be able to even up damage here. But not if you're going to keep taking these orb hits. There we go, keeping him towards the edge of the stage. Trying to find a way to just keep him over there, but Keith ends up off stage once again, and I feel like that's just something we've been seeing a lot today. Just Keith off stage, and then kind of giving up that stage control.
Guitars in hand, backing off a little bit here. What's it going to be? Keith is just being really nice and patient with his next opening, falling back down with the neutral lead. It ends up getting whiff punished, but no D-lights, no siders, no side lights to be found. No weapon. Sider, is this going to be it? Is this going to be the stop? Yes, it will. Wow, excellent.
All right, yep. Doing well to get started there. You're sticking right with the orb. Doesn't want to do anything to do with the scythe, which, okay, I guess. I mean, it's working out for you. You do have a little bit of a lead here, but with the way that Keith plays, that lead ain't going to stick around for too much longer. We'll see if he can find a way to keep that energy going, because you need to have a strong start on this final stock here against Himwy, or else you're just going to drop this game in general.
Looking for this downer, looking for the neutral right now, and Keith is just, I mean, just struggling to find any opening here that's not just like a one-off opening. Katanas are a combo weapon. If you're not finding like those grounded sidelights, if you're not finding those neutral lights, which, okay, starting to get that now, but it might be a little bit too late.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah, starting to rack up this damage. Calling out these dodges as well. But I gotta hand it to him. He's finding, you know, doing a really good job of just kind of getting out of these combos and getting some strong counter hits. And is that gonna close it out? That might be. Wow, he barely touches the stage.
And Himwy didn't want to risk anything. Himwy just sat on stage, was like, okay, you know what? On the off chance that you hit me and get a chase dodge back on, I'm not going to touch this at all. I thought that was going to be the stock. And now, all of a sudden, Keith has a fighting chance to be able to make this comeback, but there was two orbs on the screen. Really dangerous stuff. That's going to be it. Himwy keeping himself afloat. Now taking total set count, the total game count, 1-1. And it was so, like, obviously that, like, Keith isn't going to make it back on. That, like, I think everybody watching was like, oh yeah, that's the stock, right? That's, they're gone. The risk of going off stage to finish, like, chewing your food like that is that Keith can find a hit and then get a chase dodge to come back on, or even find something like a stage spike and then just completely knock out Himwy, right? So I don't disagree with Himwy for necessarily staying on stage, even if it didn't turn out to be the correct play.
Right.
He still got that game, he still won it, and now it's 1-1.
I think my bigger issue was the fact that it was just the fact that they kind of ran to the other side of the stage. Like, you could have kept that pressure just by standing there. But it is what it is. That's last game. This game, these two are battling it out relatively even across the board here. Now, we do have that hammer, and I feel like Keith just hasn't been able to utilize his hammer quite as much. We know there's a lot of big damage that can come from it. It's just a matter of getting it into play. Ooh. Ooh.
Okay, Keith slowly but surely making his way back onto the stage here, and now just patrolling the ground, looking through that D-light, hunting for it. What an unconventional option. Keith was just not ready for it, just had to eat that. Find himself off stage now. This could be pretty huge.
Oh, keeping this hammer in play as well. That, oh, wow. Barely living that. I mean, you're not going to be living the next one, that's for sure. But, yeah, you are deep in the red. And there it goes. And yeah, Himwy, you know, after that first game, you know, dropping it, it was a competitive game as well. Getting that second one, they seem to be in control here. And Keith might need a character switch to try and change some things up. Now, granted, I'm calling this a little too early in game 3, but I just feel like Himwy's just really on top of everything.
I can't believe that down air didn't connect. I feel like that was also like the correct play. If you were to look at it, it was super close. And then by virtue of whiffing that down air, Keith was able to get that punish, that whiff punish, excuse me, and that KO subsequently. But now, this is Scythe off stage. Off of just a single lead, you can make some insane stuff happen. Keith has been so patient holding onto that dodge. You needed to hold onto that dodge to make it back against Scythe. It's okay to eat 20 hits, but if you use up that dodge too soon, then you're just done. You're gone.
You're gone. It's over. But finding a way back to stage despite looking at what seemed impossible. And still racking up some damage very slowly but surely here. But man, that orb is just doing so much for Himwy. And tosses the Scythe out there trying to find a way to close out that stock. Both players unarmed. Ooh.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty with Scythe. I mean, it is difficult to get like your KO confirms with Scythe because it's such a lead-based weapon. Getting it again though, but you don't need a lead if it's just going to be, hey, you got such a high damage that all I need to do is just connect a side at this point. Himwy once again holding on to a gentle lead here. Keith needs any way to close out the stock. You have Hammer, so you gotta look out for D-Light. D-Light into Cider, putting you off stage, and now tossing out the weapon, but Himwy comes back on aggressively and punishes Keith through that weapon toss. Uh-oh.
Oh. Oh, God, terrifying spot to be in here. Can Keith find a way back? Ooh, Keith gets the wall touch and is back on stage, and this is kind of where Keith makes his money, you know, trying to find a way back to even things up here, at least in terms of stocks.
Keith overcommitted. Keith put himself off stage too low. Himwy was just able to get a free pass to get back on stage by going high. The side of the stage spike does come out though, but that was really scary for Keith at a couple of moments. This comeback is possible, especially with Qataris. We have seen time and time again what Keith can do with them if he gets that right opening, if he gets that chase dodge up, and he is trying his best to get that started.
Oh my god, dude, this Scythe gameplay has been fantastic, and I think it's been a really good reason why they've held a strong lead this entire game 3. And I know that they're like, listen, give me the orb, let me do everything with the orb, but this Scythe is definitely doing a lot for you, and they should continue to play with it a little bit here.
Himwy off stage, being nice and patient. Oh my god! That down air getting punished by Himwy's down air, it was just like so slow up until it wasn't. Both of them so deep into the orange now. Keith really deep into the red. This can be anybody's game at this point, but Himwy has that slight lead.
Okay, tried to look for the recovery, tried to call out a jump that never came. And now you got him off stage. Himwy, can you close this one out? He tries to look for a down air or two, but not able to find it.
Ooh, GC side light, that is committal. That is a commitment and a half, and he got punished for it, but Keith still finds himself off stage. He wasn't able to get that KO off of it, but that's going to be the side light side. That's going to be it so far, and now Himwy is up 2-1 against Keith. We see Keith swap over to the Telos, or rather to the Patrick. Whoa.
Yeah, well, we'll see how this works out for him. I mean, like, the other side of it, too, is just the fact that, like, Orb, I think, has just been that good for Himwy, like just kind of dealing with guitars. Like it's a nice close range weapon. It's pretty quick itself, and like as soon as you're able to get those hits, you put them right back out. So they have to continue to try and find a way in. And Himwy all day today has been doing a great job of just hey, you come to me, and then I punish you, and we do this again.
He's slowly taking his time to get back onto the stage. Himwy controlling the space. Another side light siding. Okay, how does he just keep finding these? Himwy is not overcommitting off stage. He's playing it safe, and that is the beauty of Orb. It lets you do that. It lets you just space out all of these different disjoints, and Keith is sweating on the way back down, finally able to get that landing.
Yeah, and honestly, they got a little bit lucky, too, because Himwy kind of dropped the punish on that. They just called it out the wrong way, just barely, but, you know, still finds the stock early here, and man, that is one stock closer to being the Trial of Ymir champion for Southeast Asia, but they got 2 more to go.
Okay, really huge. It's gonna be the neutral light coming out now, and then hopping off stage and able to get that side, a really good edge guard. And that is what's really nice about Telos. He does not struggle to KO. He has a lot of force, and then the kinds of weapons that he does have, specifically in the form of axe, all you need is just like that one good hit, especially in edge guards.
What an air dodge there. And a nice little punish to go with it. Nothing super crazy, but it's enough to kind of like make Keith think twice about being that aggressive again. Oh,
a really huge combo, really huge follow-up, especially with the recovery. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh my goodness.
Ooh, okay, barely living there. You do get a second chance to try and keep the stock alive. And I mean, with Taros as well, you do rack on a lot of damage very quickly. As you can see, actually taking the lead after those couple of hits. Ooh.
Being nice and patient, coming back in with the side. That's not going to be the stock quite yet, but now Himwy's in a really good position to take out the stock. That's not enough knockback to do it. Yes, it will be. Himwy now only needs one more to take the whole tournament for himself here. Keith has to make quite a bit of a comeback at this point. Hammer on hand, looking for the downer, looking for the sider, gets Himwy off stage. Can you finish this off? You burn the dodge, and you get the punish too with the GCD light into the recovery. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, it is do or die. Keith, you got to show us what you're made of. Do you have what it takes to take this game and keep the set going, or are you going to flounder in front of everybody? We'll definitely see what happens. Right now, as Himwy continues to rack on some damage using this orb, it's been their answer all day today. But Keith's trying to battle back with this axe.
Looking for the D-Light, just looking to patrol, looking to make it difficult for Himwy to get an opening kill. Dashing in, dashing out. Keith has tightened up his gameplay. He has made it really difficult to approach, and Himwy is swinging. Himwy, like, look at the amount of buttons that Himwy is outputting. Keith is now connecting everything that he is going for. Gets the recovery, just looking for the sider. Oh, he is swinging, and he is connecting it.
Hey, you know what? When in doubt, mash, right? Press those buttons, especially when you got something that hits hard. You're gonna find the hit that you need, and he gets it to close out the game and stays alive at least a little bit longer.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was pretty fascinating. That, in that kind of like a moment where it's like a last stock, last hit situation for like both of these players, especially when we are in grand finals, those are where champions are made, and specifically who is more patient when it actually comes to finding KOs. Himwy approached unsafely a few times in a row, and Keith was able to get several whiff punishes, even out the damage, and he got that final, you know, I believe it was the side of the neutral, I can't remember at this point, to close it out. Game number 5, if Keith gets this game, we're going to be going into a second set here. If Himwy takes this game, then Himwy is going to be the champion.
Yep. And it's just a matter of just kind of getting it done, but man, you just dropped the game to this basically game 1 Taros that Keith is pulling out here. Now this is their second game with it. So you got a little bit of time, you know, you got some data from last game. You can make some adaptations as needed, and that could be a huge start here, but can you find a way to keep him off stage? And he finds a way back on.
Oh, that whiff is huge, and Keith is taking full advantage of it, able to get that D-Light into the side, popping Himwy off stage and getting that neutral as well. This is Hammer, this is Talos we're talking about. One more D-Light sider, and that is going to be able to do it. The beauty of the weapons that Keith has now chosen and the character that he has chosen, he is now a lot more consistent than he was with the Sentinel.
Yeah, it's just like, well, it's also just because I feel like he wasn't getting all those hits with Qatar, right? He was getting those onesies, twosies, and that's like a little bit of a rough spot to be in. But if you get onesies, twosies with Axe or with Hammer, it goes a lot farther. So he's getting a lot of damage racked up. We do see him lose the stock there, but yeah, he is performing better because he has these stronger hits behind him.
He's just backing up a little bit here, looking through this neutral light. Okay. Hammer on hand. What's it gonna be? He's looking for just like a D-Light now. That's what Hammers are always looking for, right? Because you can just get D-Light into any follow-up that you're looking for. Himwy just backing off a little bit. Himwy has not been able to keep him out as effectively as he did in the beginning of the set and as he did as effectively with other opponents. Right? That is what made Himwy so good, is the fact that he was just so difficult to actually get a land on, a hit on.
Yep. But now, you know, you go with the Taros, and it just seems like every hit you're landing matters, and it feels like you're getting all your hits. You're really not, but it just feels that much more impactful, and that's a huge thing for Keith here. Here we go, Orb putting down a little bit of solid damage, close out that stock. Beautiful!
no dodge, no nothing, just jumps on into it, and it's actually Himwy with the lead. With the way that it was going, that's not what you'd really expect. You would think that Keith would be the one with the 2-to-1 stop and do it now. But GC sidelight into the side, goes off stage for the downer, wanted to set up that edge guarding situation. Himwy is, I mean, he's doing amazing at the moment.
Wow, what a combo there. Getting some pretty solid damage, keeping him off stage a little bit too. And again, just racking it up. Oh, Keith is in trouble right now. Keith is in a lot of trouble, and I feel like it's just that Himwy has just found the confidence he needed to close this one out. And it's just a couple more of those, and he's got it.
Waiting a little bit, slowing down, and then able to pop out there and able to get the spike at the very end. Everybody, Himwy is going to be the champion. He is going to be taking first in the trial of Ymir here, and Keith going to be taking a close second. Keith, after getting knocked down so relatively early, still in top 8 against Sphinx, was able to go on an incredible run, played 5 consecutive sets.